It is 4 a.m. and I have been struck by the need to defend one of my favorite creators, even though it's been months. So, here we go. Why I think that Lindsey Ellis was right that Raya and the Last Dragon and Avatar the Last Airbender have similarities. They have... It's really not that controversial, guys. Okay, so if you're not aware, Lindsey Ellis is one of my favorite creators. I've watched her since I've been on YouTube practically. She is honestly one of the more inspiring people to me because she has a rich career of literary legacy. Her nostalgia chick character blew the other guy out of the water, who's he, and her TED Talk made me cry, and her YouTube career has ranged from actually working for PBS to do literary analysis stuff, which, the dream, and she also has her own rich YouTube legacy, which covers everything from why does the Beauty and the Beast work to werewolf romance drama in the literature sphere. And she has this consistent fascination with how literature is made and portrayed and brought to life and how it seems to function. She has a dark sense of humor. She has a very dry wit. And sometimes that comes off to people and they attack. And that's rude, because just because it's not your sense of humor doesn't mean that she's not saying something incredibly helpful and useful. But the part in question that has been bothering me is what happened after her tweet about Raya and the Last Dragon. Because Raya and the Last Dragon was an interesting movie. It was a coming together of both some representation. I would argue that they could have done better on that they homogenized a lot more when it came to the South Pacific representation, but a lot of people really identified with it, and above all else, the food was authentic. Like, mwah, I could have eaten it off the screen. But the part that people took issue with was a tweet she put out that was, in any other circle, a clear literary analysis and question. She asked whether we had a name for the genre that is for things like Raya and the Last Dragon that are kind of like Avatar the Last Airbender. Now, what does that really come down to? Avatar the Last Airbender is one of the most iconic animations that the the Western world, or at least the US, has produced. And I am willing to say, period. I know that there's a lot of other ones as well, but it is one of the most sweeping, rich world-building areas and stories that has gotten not only popular, but has shaped a generation. So what do you think this connection means? Well, there's some really clear literary parallels, and it's not dismissive, because the literary parallels are clear. First off, opening with the main female protagonist telling you what happened to the world and why it's split now. Which one am I talking about? Because it's both. The pilot of Avatar The Last Airbender, the first episode, opens with Katara explaining how the Fire Nation attacking shattered what was once a unified world with several different cultures. The Air Nation, the Water Nation, the Fire Nation, and the Earth Nation. All of them working together at one point until the Fire Nation attacked. Raya and the Last Dragon opens up with talking about a similar thing, that there were 5 nations and they were all working together until the little dragons disappeared, and that then everything kind of went apart as everyone blamed each other and they shattered apart. Clear literary parallel. And then after that, you have The fact that they both are essentially an extended road trip, slowly gathering a troop of people who build a friendship that feels like from a diverse group. And when I say diverse, I don't mean necessarily just like, oh, I'm being racially diverse. I mean, each of them has a distinct personality, and each of them is written to be an individual, which is what Raya was trying to do and what Avatar does. And that, again, is a clear literary parallel, that if you made the comment that, oh yeah, what's the genre name for things that are like Avatar The Last Airbender, like Raya was, we don't necessarily have a genre for that, because a lot of people are or debate on whether to put it into anime, which tends to have a lot more of those sweeping worlds, but then you have a lot of other sections of that don't quite fit into that either, because if you're going with anime, you're going to have a lot more focus on Japanese characters, a lot more Western anime tends to focus on white characters, I guess. But if you're looking at Avatar and The Last Airbender, it is a lot more, both racially and ethnically and personality-wise, diverse, because, and beyond that, has a lot sunk into the backstory of what it is. And that is a strength. One of the greatest strengths of Avatar is the fact that not only are you going through a world with cool, fantastical creatures, but also war crimes. So being able to have that legacy be compared to a Disney movie that has a lot of the same tropes in a genre that we only kind of have a name for, we can acknowledge that there are those literary parallels. She shouldn't have been harangued, and yet she was. And Lindsey Ellis ended up at the end of 2021 leaving most of her social media over this and other things, as well as things piled on. But it's incredibly frustrating to watch things that in any other context would be basic observations be taken on and just make her miserable and make others miserable for agreeing with her. That's frustrating. I support her, and I like Avatar: The Last Airbender.